Hi, everyone, and welcome to Lost in the Funhouse with Greg Bow
and Blondie
and a Scarecrow. Hey, everybody, and welcome to Lost in the Funhouse.
What's happening?
You guys have been traveling, right?
Oh, man, we've been all over the place. It's been a crazy week.
I've noticed.
But when isn't it a crazy week in my life?
Yeah,
right?
I've noticed that too.
It's a good thing I am a lunatic, or else
I'd
feel out of place.
Yeah, it's a good thing you're already crazy.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, we just got back from the haunted abandoned hospital.
The haunted abandoned hospital.
Also,
Taking a vacation?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're getting Blondie checked out there.
Yeah, what's the prognosis?
Wasn't good.
Not good. Not good.
Wasn't good.
But we did go to, it was the old Taylorsville Hospital.
Oh, it was really cool too, guys.
And it's been closed down for 15 years, and we did have permission to go up there.
Have to get permission.
Did you guys see anything?
We don't, condone going into
Like
I saw a
anything.
blind wandering around up there like a crazy person.
Did you guys see anything like otherworldly?
We did hear something, didn't
In
we?
the spectral plane, if you were so inclined.
Well,
Yeah, I did. We took lots of pictures, and I did
Did
take.
you? Any orbs?
I didn't see any, but I know on one of the videos we were doing, we were just walking through, and it was just me and Gregbo in the section that we were in, and I mean you could just hear these like sounds, and I have no idea where they were coming from, and just kind of things.
it was
hitting.
odd, yeah.
Yeah,
There was
it was kinda
nobody over
spooky.
there that could have been, and we checked, and the other way, was blocked, so it was kind of weird. And then when we got back, we were looking through her pictures, and two of them were just solid.
Oh yeah, that
Black.
was really weird because because I was just snapping pictures, and I was just kind of flipping through on my phone, and I mean they were just completely, just black, just nothing on the picture. So I don't know what I was.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know what I was taking a picture of, or why, or what that was.
Interesting.
But it was really cool. The building, like I said, it was the old Taylorsville Hospital.
The haunted abandoned hospital.
And they shut it down 15 years ago, and because of funding. And I looked up the little history on it, and because I was just
As Blondie is known to do.
yeah, I just wanted to know a little
How
bit
many
about
bullet
it.
points are on that history?
Oh,
Yeah.
a lot.
Hey, that's a bad word.
See what I did there?
No bullet points.
But
Not bad. I'll censor it.
Turkey it out.
it's sad.
That was
Not sure what that was.
That was a turkey on speed.
But
We don't condone drug use here.
No, not even for turkeys.
I'll censor that too.
But this building, it was really cool because it was 2 stories to the building, and the first floor, the fire department in the town uses it for a haunted house at Halloween.
Yes.
Really?
So it was all
Cool.
decorated and had
They had
the
left some props and all kind of stuff in there.
yeah, all the
and-
props.
You sure those were
and-
props?
Well, we think they were props.
Yeah, but it was really cool because it was kind of like a maze when you're walking through there because they had the
Cool.
black, walls up and
Yeah.
so
the
you just kind
partitions
of
and stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you just kind of turn a corner, and then there's all this stuff sitting there, and so it was really cool. We walked through, and then we went up to the second floor, and the second floor, I think sometimes they let people come in to film,
Yes.
like I don't know, like maybe TV or the internet series or whatever, and or who knows, movies, but
or just film ghosts.
Right.
I mean, yeah, but it
Ghostly directors.
it looked exactly like, they hadn't done anything upstairs as far as like decorating or anything, but you could tell like,
It's just that haunted, huh?
Yeah. Well,
but you could tell people had been in there and had, started like spray painting on everything.
oh yeah,
and
they
had-
tore the place up.
I mean, they had
Tore the
broke
place
all
up.
the glass.
Yeah, the regular.
There's no furniture or anything
Yeah.
in there, but when you looked in,
the ne'er do wells.
Right?
when you looked into the rooms, I mean,
Understood
it's
that about people.
Yeah, I know, right?
What joy do you get out of maiming something?
Well, I mean, it
Just
was terrible
destroy it.
too. I mean, the condition in which it was left. But Blondie was talking about on the first floor they had set it up to where it was like a Halloween haunt.
Right.
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 And I mean, you could tell where everything was in the different rooms and a maze and all these props that were left. And it was really cool. But upstairs was actually scarier.
Yeah, it was because
Place where no one goes,
it was just
Pretty
kind of
much.
that, you know how when you're
untouched by
Well,
the
you had
public.
to think, well, you had to think it was kind of, well, it wasn't untouched because I mean it was torn slap up. But when you walked down the hallway, you saw where all the hospital rooms were, and it was just just I don't know. I mean,
all
it's
the
just
doors were open.
desolation,
and,
I guess, is the feeling I
Yeah,
got.
like
and
thinking about the history of
yeah,
everyone
and
who's
you sit there and you think,
kind of lived here in a sense.
yeah, there was an ICU up there. There was the nurses station, all that kind of stuff. And the first thing that kept running through my mind is, everybody's scared to go to like the graveyard or the funeral home, but the people are already dead by the time they get there. The people actually died.
Right.
And how many people
Was there
probably
any,
died there in
Gurneys
history?
or old wheelchairs still in
Yeah,
there?
there was a gurney. Blondie
Well,
got
yeah,
her.
there was.
Blondie got her picture taken with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of
It's like
course.
Session 9. Have you guys seen Session 9?
I don't think I have seen Session 9.
I'll send that home with you. You need to watch it.
Yeah. Let me check that out. This was just
Yeah, I reference it in Snake Eyes
okay.
on Shadow Falls.
Yeah.
Very cool.
That's the ending of the movie. Is the chorus of the song is sort of the ending of the movie that I draw
Wow.
from.
So we'll tie it
Wow.
all together then.
Yeah, remind me. I'll send it home with you guys.
Yeah.
You-
Yeah. Because I want to check that out.
You'd like
The-
it.
Well, yeah, walking around, I mean, there was the feeling of desolation, but there's just feeling, it's weird whenever you walk into an old building or an old house, especially a building that was a public building, like a hospital, and you can just kind of hear the wind going through.
Right.
There's windows that are broken and
Yeah.
stuff. But then it's kind of like it's got its own ghosts.
There's so
in the
much emotional
terms-
ties to buildings
Yes,
like
yes,
that, where
so
people
much-
have got so much like bad news.
Well,
or
think
good
about all the
news.
all the
Oh,
joy
yeah, I
and
mean-
despair and the the births, the deaths,
Right.
people coming in and
It's kind of the
visiting
polar
loved
opposites
ones.
of life.
Yes, exactly.
Birth and death.
Yeah, and I mean, and it's the crossroads. The hospital really is the
Yeah.
crossroads where all that
Yeah.
meets.
Right.
So you would think if there was
It's like a
going to
hot
be
spot for haunting.
Yes, yeah. It's like the perfect storm.
Yeah.
You would think that there's some kind of vortex of spiritual energy or something going on in there, and you could
Or
feel
ripping
it. I
the
mean,
veil.
yeah, a little, yeah, exactly. Like the veil between the worlds was right there, and people coming into and going out of, and so there's just so much history. And I was telling her as we were walking down the hall, I was like, you got to think how many people. They say sometimes, like, if you don't, the lore is that if you don't cross over, like some ghostly entity or whatever haunts because they don't even know they're a ghost.
Right.
And
Yeah.
think about how many people are out of sorts.
Like the others.
Yes, like the others. I love
Yeah.
that movie.
Oh, me
Yeah.
too.
And imagine and those old photos in that thing, man. When she found those old photos,
the Book of the Dead.
yes,
Yeah.
those things freak me out. Now I'm just going to go ahead and
Book
tell
of the
you,
Dead, ma'am.
very few things freak me out when I'm watching a horror movie.
Yeah.
Old photos, for some reason, they just all morbid and creepifying.
What'd you guys think of the haunting in Connecticut? Did you guys see that?
Yeah, we've seen so many horror movies that
They kind of run together after
yeah,
a
they
while.
just kind of run together. Now the haunting of
I figured
Hill
I'd
House,
ask.
that
The Netflix
is-
series, you mean?
Yes,
We're actually watching that again.
really okay.
Yeah, I think
it
we're on
was amazing.
episode 7 right now.
Have you noticed how they did the filming and in the scenes, just regular scenes inside the funeral home and stuff? There's ghosts
Yeah.
There's
walking
so
around
many little Easter eggs
There's
in
ghosts
there.
everywhere.
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 And
Yeah.
it automatically puts your senses because you subconsciously catch them, and you have that sense of ill feeling while watching it, but you
Right.
don't know why.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that
And
was genius the way they did
And
it.
episode 6 is like one continuous shot for like 20 minutes. You
Yes.
guys notice that?
Yeah,
This is something
is
just
that the one with
pointed.
the hanging lady?
No, that was
The bent neck lady.
Yeah, the bent neck lady. That's it.
This is the one where it's
I
Nell's
thought that
funeral.
that's one that just got me with the
And the whole
lady.
family gets
Yeah.
together for her funeral, and it's one continuous shot.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And Jess actually pointed this out to me. It's like, are we seeing it from Nell's point of view? Because she's floating around.
Wow.
And then it's like we start seeing cuts when we're out of her point of view as a regular viewer, because she's floating around watching everybody.
Interesting.
She had that theory. I thought that was pretty interesting.
No, that's a very cool. That's a very cool theory. I mean, I oftentimes think, because I know that they're going to do I know they're already doing the season 2, and it's going to
I
be a
know.
completely different location, story,
Right.
everything. I just, it's
writing
kind
on
of like
season 1
American
is
Horror
fantastic.
Story. It's just, how do you top it?
I think it's better than American Horror Story.
Oh, this
Yeah.
was by far.
But to get back to our
Yes,
trip
we took
to
a
the-
detour there. as we're
Detour.
known to do.
It was worth it though. Halloween's coming up.
I
Come on,
know.
guys.
Halloween. Yes.
I know it's getting close, but we were actually up there to do an interview with one of our friends, Papa Stro,
Papa Stro, Maestro.
and he was actually up there doing a photo shoot. So that's why
Yeah.
we ended up at the hospital, and so we were.
Such a
Stro.
great guy. Yeah,
He really is. He's a sweetheart.
Yeah, and you Papa Stro's the kind of guy, he is so positive about
I know.
everything. It is like humanly impossible to be having a bad day
I know.
when Stro is around.
I agree.
I mean,
totally
it's just
agree.
a fact. I mean,
I'm not just saying that too. Like, I wholeheartedly agree. He's
no.
such a sweetheart.
I
It
know.
rubs
He's-
off on you.
And
Oh,
I
yeah.
know it's infectious when you're around
Yeah.
him. Yeah.
Yeah, I need to have him down here for like a week.
yeah, I know. We just think we trade him back and forth in our
Right.
studios, to
Yeah.
kind of keep us motivated.
Right.
He'll hit me up in the middle of the week, and we'll be texting back and forth or something, and we just have the best time. He is, without a doubt, just an amazingly fascinated guy, and so
Yeah.
talented.
He really is.
I mean, so talented, from the
really is.
wrestling to the acting. And man, his road stories from wrestling, oh my
Right.
gosh, they're priceless. Yeah.
Well, why don't we get into the interview and
yeah,
let's
because
do
you
that.
guys interviewed him.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did. And it's great. So,
So
why
let's
don't
see
we,
from the Maestro, Papa Stro himself.
yes, let's turn it over to the Maestro. Hey, this is Greg Bo Watson, and I'm here with Blondie, and we are sitting here talking to one of my favorite people in the world, real good friend of ours, the one and only Papa Stro, Maestro. Papa Stro, welcome to Lost in the Funhouse.
Oh, pleasure to be here.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Hey, a lot of people know that listen to the podcast, my family's kind of steeped in wrestling, and, we talked about bringing wrestling onto the podcast, but Stro's kind of a renaissance man, because you do so much stuff in wrestling and outside of wrestling. I mean, you're just a fascinating individual. Tell our listeners a little bit about yourself.
Well, where do I begin? I've been wrestling for over 30 years around the world, different countries. Wrestled some of the greats in the business. Competed with NWA, WCW, and many other promotions. Smoky Mountain Wrestling, USWA. List goes on. Too many to. We'd be here forever.
Oh,
absolutely.
no, I mean, absolutely, because, I mean, and it seems like every time we talk, you'll bring up a story, and I'll be like, wait a minute, you were in that territory? Because, I mean, it's like wild. And, you had told me before, you are directly related to one of the unbelievable, like one of the forerunners, really, of pro wrestling as well.
The original Gorgeous George.
Yes.
Years ago. He's my granduncle. Him and my grandfather used to be amateur boxers back in the day before he broke into business.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, and he influenced a lot of people, not only in the wrestling world, but outside the wrestling world, in Hollywood, entertainment, athletics. And years later, meet people like Muhammad Ali and James Brown, who he influenced. It was a really big honor, you know what I mean? It's like everything
That's
coming
too cool.
full circle,
Yeah, I mean, that's just absolutely amazing. As a matter of fact, last night, getting ready for this today, I brought up a few clips on YouTube, because I knew that Blondie here knew you real well and has got to know you real well over a period of time. And she's seen some clips of you back in the day and currently wrestling. And but I brought up and showed her a little bit of Gorgeous George. So just so I could bring her up to speed, because I was like, Misty being around me and Brett she knows just enough to be dangerous with wrestling.
No.
But
I know just enough to keep up with the conversations.
Right.
that's about it. But that's about like all Brett and I ever talk about. So, we'll be sitting there talking back and forth about it, and just to be able to keep up. So last night I introduced her to Gorgeous George, but
I was just amazed at his character. I mean, considering the time frame, that's what I was telling him. I'm like, this just doesn't look like it would have been popular back then.
Oh, it was, unbelievably popular.
Yeah, he was like the innovator of that time. I mean, it was because of him that what brought pro wrestling on the TV map, more or less.
Yeah, absolutely. But, a lot of people who listen are going to be listening to this know, a lot about your wrestling background. And something I just want to talk about as well is, some of the acting you've done. Mm-hmm. You go around, we get to see each other a lot on the Comic-Con circuit as well.
Oh, yeah.
As a matter of fact, we have, what do you call it? We've interrupted a photo shoot.
Yes, we have. We've hijacked it. We're pirates.
Yeah.
I told you guys, #international hooligan.
Well, we came up here to meet up so we could get the interview with Papa Stro, and he was here doing a photo shoot for one of the, one of the series that you've been doing.
The Dust series.
Dusk.
Yes.
Yeah.
Another friend of ours has been working on that, and
you play the chief.
Yes.
Yeah. We'll talk a little bit about Dusk and what you guys have been doing. And
it's just really blessing to be part of the Dust series.
Yeah.
It's such a great cast and crew, in which it's you have all kinds of supernatural phenomena: vampires, werewolves, witches, and et cetera, et cetera. And I star as Chief, who's the new face of death, the new Grim Reaper.
Right.
And my story is I used to be a pirate back in the day called Cornelius, who got into it with the Grim Reaper, and one thus taking his mantle was death. And Cornelius was a real ruthless scoundrel of a pirate back in the day. Even like having a ship at one time made of human bones.
wow.
So yeah, but everybody in the cast on the series has a very interesting backstory. So a lot of drama. Of course, we can't get along, and there's a lot of taking sides.
Yeah.
And sort of thing. So
And magical and supernatural elements, and I was really amazed, and I've seen some of the footage and some of the episodes that you've been in, and you bring so much to the character. I think it's really good. I mean, I have had the honor of several times, like one time you and I were like on a panel together at a con, and we really didn't know. They kind of threw us in a room, and we really didn't know what we were supposed to be talking about.
Right.
And it just amazed me. Stro just walked out in front of everybody and just started having this whole conversation. It was kind of like a Seinfeld episode because it was really about nothing, and I'm over there about to die. But he's making it sound just like this is what everybody lined up to see, and everybody's just in there going, yes, okay, interesting. And I'm sitting there going, what is he even talking about? But it was so
Well,
good.
I learned from my English teacher years ago, Mr. Marshall.
Yeah.
He was a theater major, right?
Oh, cool.
And it was a lot of fun. He would take us to theaters, plays, and all that sort of
Yeah.
thing. And he always cracked jokes all the time. And he's like, one of the things he would tell us, like, one thing you should know in life, if things get too tough, you fake it till you make it.
Ah, that's good advice. Hey,
So,
that is. But I mean, that's I'm a lot of people who have never really been in the sport of pro wrestling or around the wrestling world don't realize that it takes a lot, and you learn so much. I think getting out there in front of a live audience and having to think on your feet. It just gives you, I think, the utmost, most people anyway, the utmost confidence to be able to come out and have a conversation.
Oh yeah,
You
it's there's nothing like being in front of people live. I was in theater. I played Cats. I was in
Wow,
the Cats play
yeah.
and Macbeth. I was the king that got betrayed, and I was Dodo Bird and Alice in Wonderland.
Oh, how cool.
Various roles in theater, and played piano, drums,
Yeah.
and sing, and all that sort of thing, and along with the wrestling too.
Right.
Through the years, that it prepares you for a live environment. So when you do acting, whether it's live and so forth, you always you have that experience, knowing how to improv when you need to, and how to react on the fly, that type of thing, to get the story across. So.
Well, and I thought like especially like back during the WCW days when you were doing the Maestro and the whole Maestro gimmick, it was really cool because this is a long time before you and I met, and I knew you, and I was just sitting there just casually watching, on Monday Nitro and everything, and I got to see you come out, and I always thought it was really cool because you got to work multiple areas of your talent into your gimmick, which I thought was really cool, and just a really neat overall thing. One thing about Lost in the Funhouse that me and Misty decided we were going to try to do is really kind of take people, listeners behind the scenes of some of these cons, and we talk from time to time about like behind the scenes things that happened at cons and weird things, odd things that have happened. I'm sure you've had some odd or unusual things possibly that have happened, or something that's cool that sticks out. I mean, what's one of your what we call them, our con stories?
Oh my goodness. I was going to mention that they had lowered me down on a platform. My entrance is WCW.
Yes.
A baby gang panel, Canada Opera.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Right? And I'd worked with Stuntman 2 weeks prior for the actual debut, right?
Right.
To prepare myself in the harness. And because at the time, Sting and I were the only two doing that after passing to Owen.
Right.
And I asked Bret Hart for permission to do that. If he would have not given me permission to do it, I wouldn't have done it. I respect the Hart family.
That's respect.
So he gave me the green light, and the rest is history. And there was this one time where every time I would come down from the rafters playing the piano down to the arena, right?
Right.
I wouldn't unhook the harness and go out and wrestle, do my thing, right?
Right.
One time, the harness wouldn't come loose on my tights there, so I had, the camera's still on me, right? So I'd still go to the ring and perform, and every time in the match, I would hit the canvas. That little piece of harness would dig in my lower spine, and I'm like cringing right and left.
No.
And this was one of those deals like just can't wait for the match to be over with, more or less.
Well, how have you enjoyed? Because you and I first started getting to really know each other through like the Comic Cons and seeing each other at Comic Cons.
Oh yeah.
How have you enjoyed the transition? Being on the con circuit and going to these things and getting to meet the people and that kind of thing.
Oh, I love it. It's really been real enlightening and refreshing to see all different types of people, the Comic-Cons, the artists, the authors,
right,
the cosplayers, the entertainers, all different forms of life and
pop
culture, and interesting people are come together for this one thing. And it's just like, I don't know, it's like, with all the craziness in the world and everything, it's cool to see Comic-Cons bring people together, and
I agree.
And see people you would normally see and be entertained, and it's fun for all ages, so it's really, really cool.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you get to meet people from all walks of life and find out, it's kind of like, it kind of reminds me, kind of like the old territories and stuff where you see people here and there and at different places, and you've got this group of friends and people, but you only see certain sets of them at certain places. It's kind of like a carnival life. In a way, you know what I mean?
Our con family.
Yeah,
we say our con family, yeah.
And when you get burned out at one con, you can go to another one and be fresh all over again. So it's pretty much like the territories used to be with the stars. They be a big deal for a while, and then when the time is done, they can go to another territory and be a big deal all over again.
Well, and your dedication just amazes me, because I remember one time down at I can't remember if it was still Florence Comic Con at the time or if it had already switched over to Power Comic Con, and you were coming in the door, and we were setting up, because a lot of times, guys, we've talked about, before the cons start and during the cons. I mean, we talk and get to see each other during the cons some, but a lot of times it's before the cons and after the cons, when everybody's getting ready, set up and taken down. But I remember you walking in the front sliding glass doors from at Power Comic Con, I'm gonna say, and you had wrestled, I think, the night before.
Yeah.
And you were like sore, and you pulled some of your back or something, and you were walking in. I said, "Hey man, how's it going?" And you're like, "Oh man, I pulled something last night." But the one thing you guys have got to know, if there's one thing I'd want you guys to know, is that Papa Stro here he's like a ray of sunshine whenever you meet him. You can't have a bad day around this guy. That's I mean, he's just, his positivity just flows, wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah, and he usually has Dorothy with him. So.
Oh, I love Dorothy.
Oh, Dorothy, yeah. She's life of the party.
Oh yeah, we even had her as a judge in one of the cosplay contests one time. That was...
And she always talks about that.
So if you see Papa Stro at one of the conventions, you got to go up and say hi to him, and make sure you say hi to Dorothy.
Yeah, please. She'll get really upset if you don't.
Oh, she's jealous.
She loves it.
Well, when this airs, we're definitely going to put some pictures of Papa Stro and Dorothy up there. Got to do that.
So I think Dorothy's got her own Facebook page, right?
Yeah, Papa's Dorothy.
Yeah.
Facebook.
It's incredible. And you did that because we were talking one time. You did a commercial and had got like a doll and was going to give it to the lady who was doing the commercial. No, it was for a newscast or something.
Oh yeah.
And you were going to give the you'd gone and found like a little Barbie doll or something like that to give him. And just by total happenstance, the Barbie doll was wearing like exactly what the lady was wearing.
The look on her face is priceless.
It was great.
At least it didn't have pins stuck in it.
Oh yeah, but she got all freaked out because she didn't want to get near Dorothy, and then there's Papa Stro handing her a doll that looks just like her. I like to think she's sitting somewhere in a padded cell somewhere right now, just over and over. How did he get the doll? How did he get the doll? It's just amazing.
I was talking to the station for quite a while.
Yeah.
I heard after that.
That's just too cool. But yeah, we have all kind of weird things that comes up, weird things people that come up to us at the cons say, or weird events that happen, that type of thing. So that's one of the things we really wanted to make this podcast about, is kind of have people meet our friends that we go around to the cons with, that they're going to see at cons, and kind of let people know that everybody who comes to the cons who's not in the business, they get to see how these cons are and how fun they are, but they really don't see all the work that goes into getting ready for one.
Right.
All the work, beforehand, after, during, and behind the scenes, and it doesn't matter. You go to one of these big cons, and a lot of times you don't get to see everything that goes on.
Right.
Even we don't. I mean, there's been times where like you're on one side of the building and something crazy will go over there, and you'll come over to the table and you'll just have this look on your face, and I'm like, oh, okay, I know Stro's coming over here with a story.
Too many
and vice versa.
With cosplaying, I can totally relate with cosplaying because, us being in the professional wrestling business, that's all we do is cosplay.
Well, you got a good point.
We have personalities and personas and gimmicks, and, we're just, there's so many similarities between what we do and getting cosplayers, if you think about it. And so, definitely there's a relationship there with the cosplay world and the wrestling world.
I agree. I mean, that's I've never thought about it that way, but you're 100% right. See, there you go, Misty. You have been verified, or whatever you might say, cosplay queen of the Carolinas.
It's just like in acting for a film, you're living out a character that you enjoy and vicariously, show passion for it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And that's what I think the fun part of cosplaying is, not only just dressing up like the character, but then you get to actually act like that character all day. And
for that moment in time, you get to be somebody else.
Yeah.
Well,
it's really cool.
And that's cool, but I mean, that's one of the things that amazes me is that, I draw, and I mean, that's my creativity, drawing and painting and, the visual arts and stuff. But I sit there and I'll watch you do stuff, and you're multi-talented across several different fields, and each one that you apply yourself to, you seem to always excel at. So, that's a major compliment from me to you.
Well, just like the old saying, if you're going to be good at it,
Oh, yeah, see? There you go.
Good at something, rather be good at it, right?
Well, definitely we're going to have you on from time to time. If you'll come back from time to time and spend some time with us in the fun house.
Or if you won't, we'll come find you.
Yeah, we'll come find you and do like we did today and
I got
hijack you.
stories to tell you. That would be great. I was telling Andre the Giant stories last night.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, about the time I first met Andre, he goes in the parking lot, his head's above the sunroof.
Oh,
He's big in the car, right? And he just got set for $6 Million Man.
Wow.
With Lee Majors, and which I told Lee Majors the story.
Did you?
Not too long ago. I bumped into one of the Comic Cons.
Yeah.
And which was amazing. And he's coming towards me, right? And I'm scared. I'm a young kid. I'm scared.
Right.
I'm in Tampa, Florida. I'm like, oh my God.
I mean, he was huge.
And Dusty Rhodes at the time, I thought at the time he saved my life, but he was just like breaking the ice between. And he comes up to me and he says, hey kid, don't worry about thing. Andre is cool. Say hello to Andre. Say hello to my brother here. And Andre sticks his big paw down and he says, how do you do, right? My hand disappears. Literally, because his hands are this big. He's bigger than my head.
Oh my God.
And I'm looking at him like, fine, sir. How are you? You know what I mean? And he was super nice.
Yeah.
But at first glance, it's like the big bushy hair and then the size. It's still to this day the biggest human being I've ever seen in my life.
Wow.
Yeah, because I mean, it was like pound for pound. I mean, because he wasn't just tall. He wasn't just big. I mean, he tipped the scales on every aspect.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I have heard and I've read and I've seen, documentaries and stuff where Andre either liked you or he didn't like you, and you always want to be on Andre's good side.
One story I heard about with him and Macho Man Randy Savage, where Randy, he's another one that's helped me out a lot too.
Yeah.
Macho Man and Hogan have been great. One time, this was back when they separated the locker rooms, and everything is legal, as we say in the business, kayfabe, everything. And well, Andre sent red for the referee to go back to Randy saying ease up on the baby oil, right? Because he always puts so much baby oil on, it's hard to wrestle him because he's always slicker than a snake.
Yeah.
The baby oil, right? So he sends word to Randy, right? So Andre's in the ring waiting for Randy.
Yeah.
Randy comes out with the robe, oh yeah, just doing this thing, right? Comes in the ring, takes off the robe. He is slicker than oil.
Oh no.
Andre just loses it. He says, I said no oil. And you hear his stomps, boom, boom, boom. And he just punishes Randy the whole match. Sits on him, puts all his body weight on him.
Oh, God.
Places his knee on his face. I mean, just, you name it, he did it, right?
And he was like 500 pounds. I mean, it was over 500 pounds.
Oh, yeah, it was brutal.
Yeah.
The next night, Andre's waiting for him. And Randy comes out doing this little thing, right?
Yeah.
Gets in the ring, takes off his robe. He's like scaling the Sahara Desert because he didn't want to get punished by Andre.
Oh man, I saw
And Andre took it easy on him.
that's too cool. Well, while we're in here, because do you have any current projects and things coming up that you want to plug?
Well, now that we're here, I just got casted for an upcoming film called The Devil's Daughter.
Yes,
So
awesome.
Looking forward to that. Another film project in the fall coming up that I'll be working on. I'm kind of helping supervise with that too.
Yeah.
With another director. I'm doing a couple appearances for a series on one of the networks coming up soon.
Oh, cool.
I got a new music video that I'll be acting in that's coming out with a rock band called Something Clever.
Okay.
And I'm starring in it, and Renee Phoenix, who's the lead singer of the band Pink Fly.
Ooh, okay, cool.
It's like a raw remake of the Lionheart,
Right, yeah.
which I'm portraying the villain fighter role in that. There's a story behind that, so that music video will be out pretty soon too. So yeah, I got a couple irons in the fire, and of course got gonna be this upcoming Comic-Cons, Power
Right.
Comic-Con coming up. We'll be
Absolutely.
all there. I just did Cherry Comic-Con last night.
Yes, yeah.
And got some more wrestling events coming up. Like this Thursday, I'm going to be in Charleston, West Virginia, the Buffalo Wild Wings in Cross Lanes
Oh, cool.
for XMCW Super Show 5.
Nice.
I'll be there. CW Anderson from ECW be
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Salvatore Sincere from WWE be there.
Right.
And Cuban Assassin, old wrestling legend. So it should be a good time.
That ought to be interesting. I'm telling you. Well, I mean, you've always got so many irons in the fire every time I talk to you, so I mean, that's a good thing. I mean, you're
Of course,
really,
WCW Retro podcast every Thursday night.
yes, plug that. We
Yeah.
just plugged that in our last podcast, but now you get to hear it from the man himself.
Oh, I plugged you guys too in my last.
Oh, thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah, we had to wait under penalty of death until the Crippler was on our show because he wanted to be the one to plug your podcast.
Oh, cool.
Because he loves you to death.
Crippler's awesome. I miss him. So I'm so proud of him too. He's doing great doing this thing.
Thank you.
That's
Thank
awesome.
you.
Yeah, WCW Retro is preempted this week, but it'll be back on next Thursday.
Thursday nights.
At 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Okay.
Thursday nights on VOCNation.com.
Absolutely.
VOCNation.com.
And you tell a lot of your road stories and stuff.
Oh
on
yeah,
there.
we talk about
which is
dream
great.
matches, old school matches, and
too
a
cool.
little bit of news here and there, and we get a few surprise callers that called in too. So that was just, it's really cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's a real laid back environment, you know.
Yeah. Well, you know me. That's Mr. Laid Back. Misty looks at me and shifts her eyes.
Yeah.
Well, Stro, my brother, listen, man, I appreciate this first time on the podcast. Like I said, I hope many more, and I hope maybe we can do a wrestling road story special where you can tell someone, because you've got some of the most fascinating road stories I've ever heard.
Well, I'd be remiss if I didn't, before I get out the podcast, tell you about the Madman story.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Well, this Madman story just told me by Roddy Piper, right?
I love pipes.
And I can't do him justice because he tells the best road stories, right? He's telling me a story about back in the 70s. They had this territory, Pacific Northwest territory. Oregon, the Bar territory.
Yeah.
Well, if you knew the Juicer back then, that was his dad that ran the territory, right?
Oh, that I did not know.
And they were going to debut this guy named Madman, who dressed up like Batman, but due to DC comic book rights, trademarks, had to call him Madman, but he had the Batman outfit, right?
Like the old arachnid guy they used to have.
Yeah. Well, they had the villain wrestler at the time, Al Madrill, who was in World Class Championship Wrestling years ago and everything. I believe it was Al Madrill. He was going to do an interview with the commentator at ringside, and Madman was going to come out, jump on top of the table like a superhero, says, "I'm Madman," right? But keep in mind, this is 1970-some TV, live TV now, no editing, no 5-second delay. So if you screw up on live TV, oh well, you know, what can I say, right? So show starts, right? They do the commentary interviews Al Madrill.
Yeah.
And here comes Madman, running out of the back. Batman suit on, right? Runs out the ringside, jumps on top of the table.
Yeah.
Slips, falls, busts his head on the floor. and the people were like, they're howling, right? The audience, right? And the commentator and Madrill look at each other like this. Then he takes the microphone down to Madman, who's all messed up on the floor, and he says, "Who are you?" And Madman's laying there going, "I'm Madman. Tell all your friends." Oh, and it gets better, right? Later on the show is the debut match of Madman, right?
Yeah.
So here he comes, Batman suit and all, jumps in the ring, starts the match off. They go at it, boomity boom, slams the guy, climbs to the top rope, extends his hands like he's gonna jump off the top rope on him, right? Like Jimmy Superfly Snuka type stuff. But he doesn't realize that there's loose wires protruding.
Oh no!
And when he extended his hands, and one of his hands accidentally touched one of those wires, sparks flew, blacks out the whole joint. People screaming, "Oh God!"
I am the night.
freaking out. About 20 seconds later, the lights come back on, and here's the smoking Madman on the top rope. Falls face first to the canvas like a dead tree. Boom, right? Missed the guy like a mile in the ring. Referee doesn't know what to do, right? So he takes what's left of Madman, unconscious Madman, puts him on top of the other guy and just counts 1, 2. And that was like the no pun intended, shocking end of Madman.
I see what you did there.
Yeah.
That is great.
Tremendous. But here, Roddy Piper's site was just amazing.
Yeah, Piper, anybody knows me knows Piper's one of my all-time heroes. And not just how he did, as a heel in the business and how he was in wrestling, but just behind the scenes and how he conducted himself in business and how he dealt with promoters. And I mean, he was one of a kind. He was an original. But
oh yeah.
Well, brother, listen, thank you.
Oh, thank y'all
for
so
doing
much.
this, and we're definitely gonna have
Anytime,
you
yeah.
back again.
Please. Thank you so
We'll
much.
have to do an all road story episode, and then we had talked about I think you and I even mentioned back and forth about doing something closer to Halloween.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Dorothy liked that too.
Oh yeah.
Me and Papa share an affinity for Halloween, so
She's trying to figure out what she's gonna wear this year. We should
Yeah.
costume.
We gotta get her dressed up.
Yeah. Find something cool for Dorothy.
all right, brother, that's awesome. Thanks again.
Oh, thank you.
That was fun.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. One thing I told him, I said,
Sorry I wasn't there, Stro.
yeah. Well, one thing I told him is, because we all love him so much, and
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
got so many stories. There's no way, and this was just a really short interview, so there was no way that. I mean, you couldn't even get a handle on the wealth of stories he has.
Right?
Yeah, so I've already talked to him about it, and he said he's going to come back several times here and there
Cool.
throughout the course of the
Yeah.
podcast.
Maybe one day we can have him in the studio if he's ever
Oh, absolutely.
in town.
Oh,
that would be really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm telling you, he is a cut up. He is a great
Yeah,
guy.
don't let the eye makeup fool you. He's really a sweet guy.
Yeah, he actually is. He actually is.
I love
telling
your eye
you.
makeup, Stro. I really do. You gotta show me how you do it. I want it.
But
I envy you.
but speaking of the last thing that
Maybe
Stro
it's
was
Maybelline. Maybe it's Papa Stro.
I wonder if Dorothy does his makeup for him.
oh she might
She might actually.
You know?
Yeah. I don't know. I think he's just that talented. He's just that good at everything.
Yeah, I would say so. I'd say so. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, you just got to show me how to do my makeup.
And anytime we're doing anything creative, he just throws in and pitches in, and he's just got the best attitude all the way around.
He really does.
Yeah.
I don't know how he stays that positive all the time, but I need him in my life. a
Well,
lot
we're
more
all
than he
lucky to
is.
call him friends. So.
Right?
Yeah,
Right?
I'm telling
I don't deserve him.
you. You don't. No. I had to.
Words of wisdom from Greg Bo Watson.
All right, Blondie.
but speaking of that last story that
Blondie's going to kick us. In a
Papa Stro,
Yeah,
I know, stay on topic.
minute. You know I can't. It's impossible.
But the last story that Papa Stro gave us at the end of the interview was about the Man dressed up as as Batman in the wrestling ring, and we were talking about that,
Man.
and we wanted to talk about that. You've got a question on Facebook about
Well, before
Do
we
it
get
up.
before we get into that question, he was telling us the story about Man.
yeah.
But I mean, throughout the course of, and him and I've talked about this several times, because we'll sit around and we'll talk old wrestling stuff, and we were talking. Very few times in the history of pro wrestling, they have tried this so many times to incorporate comic books and pro wrestling, and very few times has it even come close to working. Like he was saying with the Man, Vince McMahon and WWE one time were trying to mimic the Ninja Turtles, and they had this tag team called
Really?
Yes. Oh man, it's on YouTube too. It's hilarious.
WWE or WWF?
WWF, but
Okay.
you know that whole
Blah, blah,
blah. So, but they were called. I think they were called the Terrible Turpins.
Turpins.
Yeah, and Vince swore up and down. Oh man,
What does that
kids,
mean? What's a turpin?
I don't know. It's like
It's
it's,
a
know what a turpin
turtle,
is?
or
isn't
the
it?
Terrible Terrapins. No, but I think he said the
turtle.
Terrible Turpins. But
Like a tuppin? Like Mary Poppins?
Tuppins a bag.
Yeah.
So, but what happened was this: Vince thinks that all the kids love Ninja Turtles, little Ninja Turtle toys going everywhere. It was the Ninja Turtle craze, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So he gets these two guys, and I used to know who it was, who was behind the mask, and I'm blanking on it right now. I have to go look it up. But
Greg Bo's correction corner.
Greg Bo's correction corner, which will be done by Blondie because she has experience in the correction corners.
Hey,
But
Yeah.
so here he lets these guys come out, and they're in full Ninja Turtle outfits, shell and everything.
Like copyright infringement.
Copyright infringement
Go and
all
all
over the
that.
place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Copyright
Only thing
infringement.
different was
Go!
like different like the different color masks or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
Different
yeah.
things. So they get out there and they're wrestling around, and the crowd's already on to this
With the
shenanigans. with the shells.
Really?
And
Ouch.
the crowd is already on to his shenanigans, Vince's shenanigans, and they're not having it. I mean,
Okay.
they're booing. I mean, this is on YouTube. I mean, it's incredible.
Is it?
They
Okay.
are booing from the rafters, and these poor guys are running around the ring trying to sell it and make it work,
And it's just not?
and it's just not. And they had this one bit in the middle of the match where one of the two guys, he gets slammed on his back, and because he's quote unquote a turtle, he can't get off his
Really?
back.
Seriously?
Seriously. So his partner jumps through the ropes, gets him, and flips him over so that he can stand up.
Oh my god.
Oh, people
Really?
booed. It was so bad. Yeah, it was horrible.
Wow, that's
And,
tragic.
and they had one, and this is maybe late 70s, early 80s. And so they had a guy dress up as Spider-Man. And
Okay.
again, I'm spazzing on the name of who dressed up like Spider-Man.
Is it still WWF?
No, this
Or
was
is
this was
WWE, whichever.
no, it would have been the old NWA. It was it was good old Southern wrestling.
Okay, nice.
Which is odd because the NWA used to
So
not do stuff
WCW.
like this. Yeah, kind of. Yeah, because that's what. Yeah,
I was always more of a fan of WCW than WWF. It was just
Oh well, yeah. I mean,
it wasn't
yeah.
as raunchy.
Well, exactly,
You know?
exactly, and it had more wrestling. You know, and
Right.
a lot less talking and more wrestling. But so they had this guy dress up like Spider-Man, right?
Okay.
And I think he was called Arachnoman or something like that.
Arachnoman. Okay.
And now
All right.
imagine if you will, a wrestler coming out dressed like Spider-Man, of course, in the hopes of evading copyright
infringement.
as one tries to do.
Right.
They had everywhere Spider-Man's costume is blue was blue,
Okay.
but everywhere it was red, it was yellow.
Blue and yellow.
Yes.
That's
And he would get on the
unfortunate.
top rope. Now imagine he'd get on the top rope and he'd go to jump off.
Yeah.
And when he would jump off, you remember back in this was a staple of kids in the 70s and the 80s. He would jump off and he would shoot silly string.
Oh yeah.
It was
yeah.
ridiculous.
Right.
I mean, it was horrible, you know. I mean, I don't know. It was crazy. But yeah, we have good times talking about the epic failures of gimmicks over the years. So,
Right.
Yeah. But Blondie, you were talking about, because I know where you were going about the question I got today on, which was a really good question on Facebook.
Oh yeah, sorry. I was trying to
Yeah, what's
squeeze
up with
that
that?
in earlier.
Yeah,
yeah,
Blondie,
let's
pay
go.
attention, you know. I
Yeah.
mean,
Bullet points.
We're
Ooh,
doing
sorry,
a podcast
bad word.
here.
Bad word.
Yes, bad word. Don't say that.
I'll censor it.
Yeah, Blondie, don't mind us. We're just trying to do a podcast here.
I know. But you got a question on Facebook, and it was a pretty
Mm-hmm.
good question concerning like superheroes. And they were asking about like Kryptonians, like
Yeah.
Superman, Supergirl. How do they keep their muscles and their, physique
Right,
or whatever if everything here is light as a feather?
Yeah, because there's no weight resistance really for them.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, because to get all shredded and stuff, you need
Right.
that weight resistance training.
You gotta have some sort of resistance. Yeah.
Yeah, so my immediate
I know,
response
I
was,
was-
"That's a good question."
Oh, I know. I was suggesting like, well,
Yeah,
they
so
have
what's
to
your
go.
answer, Greg Bo?
They have to go out and lift up
Well, it depends on-
airplanes
it
and
depends.
trucks and stuff.
Yeah, but those would be like I told
Would
you.
that
Those would be
still
like
really do anything, or do they have like secret Kryptonian weights?
well, see, that's where I was going. I was
Yeah?
thinking that there was an interplanetary gym
Oh
that
yeah.
they zip off to,
Yeah.
and can lift stuff.
Uh huh.
Either that, or because of their alien physiology,
That's what I was gonna say. Like,
when
is
they
it
come to the
genetics?
planet, that maybe in order to do and have that strength, their I don't know, something with their their makeup, their body forces it, to be
Right.
in tip top peak.
Like they don't
position.
have to keep it up. It's just it
Yeah.
stays the way. I mean, let's face it. They're aliens.
Yeah, they're
That's what it is.
well, and that's why they have like 12 and 14 packs.
Exactly.
But I mean,
Yeah.
I know like Kryptonians and everything, but
Right.
what about Thor?
What about Thor?
Well, Thor is a Norse god.
Right.
I know, but he got fat.
Oh, Yeah, but you can't count Endgame though. I mean, don't get me started on Endgame and the holes and the plot holes and that. But
Clearly, Greg Bo has opinions on that.
yes, Greg Bo has opinions on it that
Yeah.
Greg Bo's going to keep to himself.
We'll
before
come
I
back
get
to
hate
that on a
mail.
later episode when we don't have anything else to talk about.
Yes, that is right. But I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying because Thor did get fat, and
Yeah, he did. Big
you
Lebowski
know,
fat, you know what I mean?
yeah. But I'd like to say that maybe that was because he was drinking that magical Viking beer from Valhalla or something. I don't know.
Can we get some of that for a podcast and like try and just record it and see see what happens?
Where's Crippler when we need him with that Viking horn he drinks out of?
Yeah, that mead.
Yeah, that mead. Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, get the need for mead.
the need for mead. But
Brett,
yeah,
where's the mead, Brett?
Yeah, I think the military would frown upon.
Yeah, send
Brett
it in
creating
care
a
of
still
Lost in
up
the
there.
Funhouse.
So we
P.O.
really
Box.
get lost in the funhouse.
Yeah, P.O. Box Lost in the Funhouse.com.
But you were talking about Thor, and Thor. It has to do with magic and
Right,
and
it's Norse mythology.
probably during that time you said about him getting fat. Another explanation could possibly be, even though he shouldn't have been that way in the movie because that was just horrific. But let's just say
Tell us how you really feel, Greg Bo.
Yeah, well, don't even get me started on Professor Hulk.
Again, later episode
Yeah.
about
it's just
things we hated
crazy.
about the Marvel
Movie
stuff.
So maybe because he wasn't operating his hammer a lot and accessing his magic.
He was.
So really, the lightning wasn't flowing through him. So maybe that had something to do with it.
Could we venture to say it was a bout of depression?
Yes, it was actually. Yes,
I've read he was fat, right?
Yes,
He had let himself go.
We
that
all
has
saw
been
that
established
on the big screen.
Yes,
Right. Yeah. We saw the big Thor on the big screen.
yes. Almost didn't fit
Yeah.
on the big screen. They probably
Yeah.
needed a bigger screen. We're
Right?
gonna need a bigger screen.
IMAX.
Yes.
Yeah. That just because he had let himself go and he was going through a rough patch, he could still wield the hammer. He was still worthy, even though he was going through a dark time.
Oh, that's an interesting take on that.
Think about it. That outside of Marvel, just in life, in the trials that we go through,
Yeah.
are we still worthy of the greatness, even though we're in the darkness? Think about it that way.
So I think we've got a consensus that apparently to keep
Interplanetary Space Gym.
we've got to okay. We're voting on Space Gym. If anybody else has any ideas, you can send those to us to Get Lost in the Funhouse.
Yeah, y'all weigh in
And,
on this.
Yeah, please.
If anybody's got any ideas about that, we would really like to know because that is the question of today. But I mean, other than that, we just we wanted to tell everybody that the next place you'll be able to find me and Greg Bo will be at Power Comic-Con.
And Papa Stro's going to be there.
And he will also be there on September 21st, and that is in Florence, South Carolina at the SIMT building.
So come listen to his road stories from wrestling live and in person and ask him questions.
Yep, and that is from 10 to 6 p.m. It's on a Saturday, September
Yeah.
21st. So
And it's one of my favorite cons to do. It's so laid back. It's so fun. Great location.
it's very cool, and I'm one of the judges for the cosplay contest. I'm actually the cosplay director down there, which means
We won't hold it against you.
Yeah, I kind of coordinate the cosplay contest. That's about all that means.
Lots of cosplay bullet lists.
Oh yeah. But yeah, that'll be the next place that you'll see us. Is there anything, Neil? Do you have anything where we can see you next after
wow.
September the 11th?
In September? Actually, September is pretty sparse. We're finishing up the record and just trying to just nail that down. So we're sort of reeling back on a lot
Yeah,
of
you're
stuff.
not going to be able
and
to go anywhere because you're going to be locked in the studio all through
yeah, and then
September.
October is
Oh,
really
yeah.
when we're going to be really pushing
Busy.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Carolina Lore. Keep an eye out.
It's gonna be
Amen.
coming out.
Yeah.
You got to if you listen to our last episode, you got to hear one of the songs, and
Little Green Man.
that was awesome.
Thank
That
you,
was
guys.
So cool.
It was awesome. I love it.
But other than that, guys, if you've got any creepy stories. We're getting ready for Halloween. If you've got any creepy stories or any cool stories
Yeah, any
from
supernatural ghost stories.
Yeah,
And-
because
Oh, yeah,
Halloween's
that would be
coming up.
cool.
anything
guys.
and anything that scare Blondie and make her have trouble sleeping even better.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, just send those to us. That's getlostinthefunhouse@gmail.com. And then you can also find us YouTube. We're Funhouse Podcast on Facebook, Funhouse Podcast, Instagram and Twitter, Funhouse Podcast, and you can find us anywhere podcasts are found.
Well, I guess it's that time,
Thanks for listening, guys.
and I guess it's time to get lost.
In the Funhouse.